She stood just inside the glowing restaurant doorway, fingers tightening around her phone as the host smiled and asked her name, but she barely heard him because her heart was pounding too loudly, reminding her that this blind date already felt like a mistake. Her dress was borrowed, her shoes were worn thin, and the last $20 in her wallet were meant for emergencies. Not elegant restaurants with crystal lights and soft jazz humming in the air, and when the host gestured vaguely toward a table near the window, she nodded too quickly, assuming this must be it, never imagining that one wrong step would change her entire life, because at that table sat a man who looked painfully ordinary, no flashy watch, no arrogance, just a calm posture and eyes that lifted in mild surprise when she approached, apologizing softly as she asked if he was waiting for someone named Daniel, and when he smiled and said, "I am," she exhaled in relief, unaware that the real Daniel, her actual blind date, was still stuck in traffic, and unaware that this man across from her was not only Daniel, but Daniel Hayes, a self-made millionaire who owned half the buildings she passed every day without ever knowing his name. The conversation began awkwardly, then slowly warmed, as she talked about working 2 jobs, about sending money home, about dreams she'd packed away like old photographs, and instead of pity, she found something unexpected in his eyes: respect, curiosity, admiration, and he listened like every word mattered, like she mattered. And when the waiter came, panic flickered through her because she couldn't afford the menu prices, but Daniel casually ordered something simple, then joked about how overrated expensive food was, saving her without her ever realizing it, and as minutes turned into hours, laughter replaced nerves, stories replaced silence, and somewhere between shared smiles and gentle teasing, something fragile and real began to grow, something that had nothing to do with money, and everything to do with connection. Meanwhile, across the room, whispers stirred as staff recognized Daniel, but he waved them off subtly, wanting this night to remain untouched by status, because for the first time in years, someone wasn't impressed by his success. They didn't even know it, and when the bill arrived, she instinctively reached for her bag, embarrassment flushing her cheeks, only for him to stop her gently, saying, "Next time," a phrase that lingered in the air longer than it should have, because neither of them realized yet how many next times there would be. Outside, under the glow of city lights, she thanked him for a night she said she didn't deserve, and he surprised her by replying, "I was thinking the same about myself," and as she walked away, unaware that he stood watching until she disappeared down the street, Daniel felt something shift inside him, something wealth had never bought: hope. And the next day he found her again, not with grand gestures or luxury gifts, but coffee, conversation, consistency, showing up the same way every time, until the truth finally surfaced weeks later, not through headlines or confessions, but by accident, when she saw his name on a building plaque and laughed, thinking it was a coincidence, until she realized it wasn't, and the hurt in her eyes wasn't about money, but about trust, about wondering if she had been an experiment or a secret. And Daniel did something no one expected. He stepped away from his empire, from meetings and deals, to stand in front of her and say, "I fell for you before you ever knew who I was, and I'm still standing here hoping you'll see who I am without it." And love, real love, doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it grows quietly at the wrong table, on the wrong night, between 2 people who were never supposed to meet, reminding us that the most powerful stories happen when status disappears and hearts speak. And if this story moved you even a little, if you believe love should be about connection, not condition, then subscribe to the channel right now, because more unforgettable stories like this are coming, and you won't want to miss the next one.